Hey everybody, Lawrence here, your friendly basement grognard coming at you with it. Dirty Basement Terrain coming at you with another one. Now, several months ago I got a 3D printer and I've actually been loving it. Printing out miniatures, dragons, trolls, all different types of stuff that honestly, I'm okay. This one's not painted, but excuse me. I love this. It's a cool looking dragon, but I probably never would have bought it if I had to buy the miniature. But the 3D printing put it in the realm of, yeah, I can actually afford that now. But being that I am a grognard, an old head, I recently been getting into printing out some of the older edition monsters, like for second and even some third edition stuff. But I did print out first edition Beholder. To me, this is a Beholder. Because, like I said, I'm an old head, I'm a grognard, I'm a crusty old fart, whatever you want to call it. But to me, this is a Beholder. But I have put it out, and I want to walk you guys through how I painted it up quick. Like I said, just a quick slap chop job, but I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. But before we actually get to it, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons: Dungeon Matron, Mia Geeked, Quarel, Sykes, and Rick Spotton. Your guys' help every month is greatly appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. So, all right, let's get to it.
And here you can see the unpainted model that I printed out and removed my supports. And I've already glued some construction sand to the base, but I didn't get all the supports out from inside the mouse. So I'm just going to use some various tools just to pick out the supports that come along with 3D printing and just basically pop them out of the mouth. Quick, simple, easy. Of course, I'm using my airbrush to prime this thing, and I've got several other models that are prepped and ready for priming. So, you can see, I got a Shambling Mountain there, a Hook Horror, an Eye of Deep. But, just getting the black base color on, and this is going to be done with a rattle can. But now that I got everything primered up with the black, I'm going to give it as like a zenithal highlight with some gray, just at basically like a 45-degree angle, and just go all the way around. Now that I've got all the zenithal highlighting done, I'm going to be dry brushing a white on, basically going from the top down, just to make it like the sunlight is hitting it. Because remember, this is a slap chop and going to let all the express speed paint contrast, whatever, just do all the work for me. But prep it like this, and it makes it quick and easy to do. And of course, this model's color is going to be purple, and I want to get in between all those like armor plates or whatever it is on an eye of a Beholder. I want to do that with like the darkest purple that I had on hand, which was almost a black. I think it was like a Black Lotus or whatever. But I'm just painting in between all the plates right now with the darkest purple that I have. Now, with all these little teeth that are sticking in the way, painting the inside of the mouth is going to be a huge pain in the butt if I try and use a brush. A friend of mine painted a similar model, and he warned me of the issues, so I was like, well, let me try an airbrush, see if I can actually get inside of this mouth with no problem. And I'm just using a red and painting the inside of the mouth, and it actually went pretty simple and easy. But you can do this model with a paintbrush, with a brush, but it's going to be difficult. And if you have an airbrush, use it. And here I'm using I'm not exactly sure which purple I use, but basically a purple for all the armor plates and the the stalks for the extra eyes on this Beholder. And I'm letting the express paint do its work because I've prepped it with the slap chop method, and when you do that, you let the express or the speed paint or the contrast. You don't really have to do much work as long as you properly prep the model ahead of time. Your model is going to wind up looking at a good tabletop quality. And here I'm using like a pinkish, like a purplish pinkish color, or a really light purple for the lips and the little bit of flesh around the eyeball, the main eye itself, just to differentiate it from the rest of the model. And here I'm using a white contrast paint or speed express paint just to get the main eye and all the eyes on all the different stalks. Again, I'm letting the express paint do the work for me because I've already done, as I said, I did the prep work, and let this express paint do the rest of the work for me. And here for the color in the eyes, I'm using like a steel blue color to give a blue eyes. I was going to do different colors for each of the stalks, but then I was like, yeah, I don't feel like doing that. So all the different stalks have the same steel blue color to them. I just did that for simplicity's sake. Now, when I airbrushed the mouth, all the teeth were actually turned red, and so right now I'm just using a straight white paint and painting all the teeth white, just to, so you can actually see them and they're not red. But in another step, I'll be darkening down the colors. But this is just to make so I can actually see them instead of just having red teeth because I airbrushed the inside of the mouth. And here I'm using a red speed paint, which I cut down with a speed paint medium just to thin it out, and going around the edges of the main eye just to give it like bloodshot irritation. It's like, hey, ain't no Visine drops for him, so his main eye might be a little bit irritated. But no, I'm just going around the edges of the main eye, pulling a few little streaks out just to make it look like he ain't slept too well in a while. And of course now I'm painting the teeth, which I painted white previously, with a bone color, just to make them look kind of gnarly and nasty. Like you ain't ever seen a toothbrush. And now I'm using some thin down white paint. I just want to give the eyeballs themselves a little bit of highlight on top. The very tops of them, make them look a little bit brighter than underneath. I don't know. I thought it was a good idea, and it wound up looking good, for the tabletop at least. Contrast, speed paints, express, they do a lot of work, but sometimes you do have to do minimal highlighting. And of course, the support stem that's holding this sucker up, I'm just painting it up straight flat black. And now the Mini itself is painted, I'm going to start working on the base. I know typically beholders are thought of like Underdark or underground creatures, but I like to paint the bases to match the terrain that I use. So I'm going to start with a dark brown here and get 100% coverage on all the construction sand. Now that that's dry, I'm going to do a quick overbrush with a medium brown. Maybe going for like 75% coverage. Just like I said, just a quick overbrush. Now that that's dry, I'm going to do a real quick highlight dry brush with a really light brown or tan. And it looks bright right now, but it will darken once it dries up. As you can see, the other colors did as well. So it'll look good once it's dry. Of course, being that I use construction sand, there's some larger pieces of aggregate in it. So I'm going to paint those up to look like small stones or rocks. I mean, scale-wise, they're big, but, And so I'm going to use my standard stone colors, and first with a dark gray, and then of course I'm going to do an overbrush with a medium gray quick. Just basically kind of hitting the tops of all the different stones. And this is just mainly to break up to the solid brown base, just to give it a little difference. At least that's what I would think. So I think it looks good. I don't know. But it works for me, so that's what I'm doing. And of course, now I'll do a really quick light dry brush on all the different stones with a really light gray, just to highlight them all. And now I'm going to be adding some flock. I had painted on some watered down PVA, and I'm using my standard 3 colors of earth, burnt grass, and yellow for a light highlight for the flocking. It matches my terrain, so that's what I'm going with. Now that that's all dry, I'm going to go my go-to Huge Miniatures grass tufts and just basically put them all over the base, just so it's not. It adds a third dimension to the base with these little tufts and gives it a little more interest, because it doesn't matter how good your mini looks, if the base looks like complete garbage, then yeah, that takes away. So I don't want to overdo the base, but I also don't want it to look so simple and kind of blah. So I like adding grass tufts, and it just gives a little something extra and looks good. And one final touch, sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't, but I do like to put a black edge around the bases, just because it looks good. And tell you what, I am really that party is they're toast. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of Magic users there, but big old nasty beholder, yeah, I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. And I said, for a quick, first edition beholder from back in the day, I absolutely love it. And for a quick, slap chop, I think it looks good.
Hey everybody, if you made it this far, it means you watched it in, and as always, I cannot thank you enough. As I said, nostalgia hit whoever. This is a beholder to me. I'm happy with how it turned out, and when I first started playing D&D, this is what a beholder looked like. So, granted, the new beholders, the spikes, and they look mean, nasty, and gnarly, but I'm a crusty old grognard, so that's a beholder. But again, hey, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, click subscribe. Hey, if you guys have painted any beholders, regardless of what edition they are, come to the Discord and post pics. I'd love to see them. Again, as always, guys, whenever you're making terrain or painting your miniatures, remember, there's only one person you got to worry about, and it's you, because it's your terrain and miniatures.